a picture-perfect wedding. A beautiful bride, radiant in white. A handsome groom, beaming with pride. Champagne toasts, joyous laughter, promises of forever. This is the fairy tale we all dream of. But for Sheri Rasmussen, the dream became a nightmare. February 24, 1986. Van Nuys, California. A quiet, suburban neighborhood. Behind the closed doors of a seemingly ordinary condo, a horrific scene unfolds. Sheri Rasmussen, a young bride with a promising future, is found brutally murdered. The idyllic image of a newlywed's life is shattered. A life stolen, a future extinguished. Who could have committed such a heinous crime? And why? The police are baffled. The crime scene is chaotic, suggesting a struggle. Was it a robbery gone wrong? A jealous lover? Or something far more sinister? John, the grieving groom, becomes the prime suspect. He had the opportunity, the means, and perhaps even the motive, but something doesn't quite add up. As the investigation deepens, a web of secrets begins to unravel. Hidden relationships, buried resentments, and a dark undercurrent of obsession threaten to consume everyone involved. The small community of Van Nuys is gripped by fear and suspicion. No one is above suspicion, and everyone has something to hide. But the truth, as it often does, remains elusive. The case goes cold, the killer seemingly vanishes into thin air. Years turn into decades, and justice remains out of reach. But the past has a way of catching up with the present. A new generation of detectives, armed with advanced technology and a relentless pursuit of justice, reopens the case. What they uncover is a shocking twist that no one could have predicted. A killer hiding in plain sight, a betrayal that cuts deep, and a truth that will forever change the lives of those involved. The music intensifies, building to a dramatic crescendo as the screen fades to black. A single question appears in bold white letters. Who killed Sheri Rasmussen? And how did they get away with it for so long? To understand the tragedy that befell Sheri Rasmussen, we need to understand who she was. A woman full of life, ambition, and a zest for living. Sheri was born in 1957, a bright and determined young woman from the very beginning. She excelled in school, skipped a grade, and entered college at the young age of 16. Sheri was a natural caregiver, drawn to the medical field. She pursued a career in critical care nursing, quickly rising through the ranks with her intelligence and dedication. By her late 20s, Sheri was already the director of nursing at Glendale Adventist. She was a respected leader, a skilled nurse, and a beloved colleague. Her future seemed limitless. But Sheri wasn't just a career woman. She was a loving daughter, a loyal friend, and a woman who embraced life with open arms. She was passionate about her Norwegian heritage, loved to travel, and dreamed of starting a family of her own one day. Sheri had everything going for her. A successful career, a loving family, and a bright future ahead. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. On her wedding night, the unthinkable happened. Sheri's life was brutally taken, her dreams and aspirations stolen from her. Who would want to harm this vibrant young woman? What dark secrets lurked beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect life? The answers, as we'll soon discover, lie in a tangled web of obsession, betrayal, and a shocking truth that would take decades to uncover. Sheri Rasmussen deserved a lifetime of happiness, but she was robbed of even a single day of married life. To make the narration longer without adding new information, we can expand on the existing points with more detail and emotional depth. To truly grasp the depth of this tragedy, we must first understand the remarkable woman at its center, Sheri Rasmussen. She was more than just a victim, she was a force of nature, a vibrant soul with an unquenchable thirst for life. From a young age, Sheri's intelligence and determination shone brightly. She was a gifted student, excelling in her studies and exceeding expectations. Her passion for learning led her to college at an age when most were still navigating the hallways of high school. Sheri's compassionate nature drew her to the medical field, where she found her calling as a critical care nurse. She possessed a rare combination of intellect and empathy, a skilled healer with a genuine concern for her patients' well-being. Her dedication and talent propelled her quickly through the ranks, culminating in her role as Director of Nursing at Glendale Adventist Medical Call Center. She was a respected leader, admired for her competence and beloved for her warmth and humanity. But Sheri was more than just a successful career woman. She was a loyal friend, a cherished daughter, and a woman who embraced life with infectious enthusiasm. Her laughter filled every room she entered, her smile radiating warmth and genuine joy. She was deeply connected to her Norwegian heritage, finding pride and connection in her ancestry. She loved to explore the world, experiencing new cultures and embracing adventures with an open heart. Sherri's dreams were as big as her spirit. She yearned to build a family of her own, to nurture and love children as she had been nurtured and loved. She envisioned a future filled with laughter, travel, and the joy of watching her children grow. She had it all, it seemed. A thriving career, a loving family, and a future brimming with possibilities. But fate, as it so often does, had a cruel twist in store. On the very night meant to celebrate her new life, her wedding night, the unthinkable happened. Sherri's life was brutally cut short, her dreams and aspirations stolen from her in an act of senseless violence. The question that haunted everyone who knew her, who could possibly want to harm this vibrant, kind, and accomplished young woman? What dark secrets lurked beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect life? Secrets that would lead to such a devastating end. The answers, as we will uncover, lie in a tangled web of obsession, betrayal, and a shocking truth that would take decades to unravel. A truth that would shatter the illusion of normalcy and expose the darkness that can reside within even the most unexpected hearts. Sheri Rasmussen deserved a lifetime of happiness, a future filled with love, laughter, and the fulfillment of her dreams. But she was robbed of it all, denied even a single day of married life. Her story is a tragic reminder of the fragility of life, the devastating consequences of unchecked obsession, and the enduring power of love and memory in the face of unimaginable loss. Sherri and John, a seemingly perfect match. Two ambitious individuals, drawn together by a shared passion for life and a desire to build a future together. But was their relationship as idyllic as it appeared? Their story began at UCLA. John, a mechanical engineering student, and Sherri, already a nursing student despite her young age, met through mutual friends. They were drawn to each other's intelligence, drive, and shared love of adventure. John was a charismatic and athletic young man, popular among his peers. He was also ambitious, determined to make a name for himself in the world of technology. Sherri, with her infectious laugh and warm personality, quickly became the center of John's world. They were inseparable, supporting each other's dreams and ambitions. After graduation, their relationship blossomed. John landed a job with a promising tech company, and Sherri continued to excel in her nursing career. They moved in together, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. They were the envy of their friends, a couple destined for greatness. They talked about marriage, children, a future filled with love and success. But behind the facade of this perfect couple, a storm was brewing. A hidden obsession, a jealous rage, a love that would turn deadly. John had a past that he had tried to bury. A past that would come back to haunt him and destroy everything he held dear. Stephanie Lazarus, a police officer, was John's ex-girlfriend. She was deeply in love with him, but he had moved on, choosing Sherri instead. Stephanie's obsession with John grew, fueled by jealousy and a refusal to let him go. She watched him from the shadows, her resentment festering. As John and Sherri's wedding day approached, Stephanie's obsession reached a boiling point. She couldn't bear the thought of them together, of their happiness. Something had to be done. To make this section longer without adding new information, we can expand on the existing points with more detail and emotional depth. Sherri and John. On the surface, they seemed like the perfect couple. Both were driven, ambitious, and shared a zest for life that drew them together. They were the kind of couple that inspired envy in others, their love seemingly effortless and their future bright. But beneath the surface, a darker current flowed, a hidden obsession that threatened to shatter their idyllic world. Their story began amidst the vibrant energy of UCLA, a place where dreams were born and futures forged. John, a charismatic engineering student with a passion for technology, was drawn to Sherri's intelligence and infectious laughter. Sherri, already a dedicated nursing student despite her youth, found in John a kindred spirit, someone who shared her ambition and her love of adventure. Their connection was undeniable. They spent countless hours exploring the campus, studying together, and sharing their dreams for the future. John, with his athletic build and easy charm, was popular among his peers, but it was Sherri's warmth and genuine spirit that truly captivated him. Their bond deepened after graduation as they embarked on their respective careers. John's ambition led him to a promising position in the burgeoning tech industry, while Sheri's compassionate nature guided her towards a successful career in critical care nursing. They supported each other's aspirations, celebrating each other's successes, and building a life together filled with love and laughter. They were the picture of a happy couple, their home a haven of shared meals, cozy evenings, and joyful celebrations. They spoke of marriage, of children, of a future filled with the warmth of family and the satisfaction of fulfilling their dreams. But lurking in the shadows of their happiness was a figure from John's past, a figure consumed by an obsession that threatened to destroy everything they had built. Stephanie Lazarus, a police officer with a troubled past and a heart filled with unrequited love, refused to let go of John. Her jealousy festered as she watched John and Sheri's love blossom. She couldn't bear the thought of him finding happiness with another woman, a woman who, in her eyes, had stolen her rightful place by his side. Stephanie's obsession grew, fueled by a sense of betrayal and a desperate longing for John's affection. She watched them from afar, her resentment simmering, her mind consumed by dark thoughts. As John and Sheri's wedding day approached, Stephanie's obsession reached a fever pitch. She couldn't stand the thought of them making a lifelong commitment, of their happiness solidifying her rejection. A storm was brewing, a storm that would soon unleash its fury and shatter the illusion of their perfect life. The idyllic image of Sheri and John, the couple destined for greatness, was about to be shattered by the dark forces of obsession and jealousy. Their love story, once a beacon of hope and happiness, was about to take a tragic turn, a descent into darkness that would leave a lasting scar on all those involved. November 16, 1985. A crisp autumn day in Southern California. The stage is set for a beautiful wedding. Sheri, radiant in her white gown, prepares to walk down the aisle. John, handsome and eager, awaits his bride. The ceremony is filled with love and laughter. Family and friends gather to celebrate the happy couple. Sheri's parents, beaming with pride, watch their daughter embark on a new chapter. The reception is a lively affair, held at a beautiful venue. Guests dance, toast the newlyweds, and share in their happiness. But amidst the celebration, a dark shadow lurks. Unbeknownst to Sheri and John, Stephanie Lazarus is among the guests. She watches them from afar, her jealousy and resentment growing with each passing moment. As the day progresses, Stephanie's obsession takes over. She can't bear to see John with another woman, happy and in love. Her mind races with dark thoughts, her anger simmering beneath the surface. The celebration continues, oblivious to the danger lurking in the shadows. Sheri and John, unaware of the threat, enjoy their special day, their hearts filled with hope for the future. As the night draws to a close, Sheri and John bid farewell to their guests and retreat to their new home, ready to begin their life together. But Stephanie Lazarus has other plans. Driven by her obsession, Stephanie follows the newlyweds, her mind consumed by dark thoughts. She won't let Sheri have John. She won't let anyone have him. As Sheri and John settle into their new home, unaware of the danger lurking outside, Stephanie waits in the shadows, her anger reaching a boiling point. The stage is set for a tragedy. A night of celebration will turn into a night of terror. A love story will end in bloodshed. What will Stephanie do next? To make this section longer without adding new information, we can expand on the existing points with more detail and emotional depth. November 16, 1985. A picture-perfect autumn day in Southern California. The sun shines brightly, casting a warm glow over the joyous occasion. Sheri, a vision in white, radiates happiness as she prepares to embark on her new life with the man she loves. John, handsome and eager, awaits his bride with a heart full of hope and anticipation. The wedding ceremony is a symphony of love and laughter. Family and friends gather, their faces beaming with joy as they witness the union of two souls destined to be together. Sheri's parents, their eyes brimming with pride, watch their daughter take this momentous step, their hearts filled with blessings for her future. The reception is a whirlwind of celebration, a vibrant tapestry of music, dancing, and heartfelt toasts. Guests raise their glasses to the happy couple, sharing in their joy and wishing them a lifetime of happiness. But amidst the revelry, a sinister undercurrent flows, a dark presence unnoticed by the unsuspecting celebrants. Unbeknownst to Sheri and John, Stephanie Lazarus, a figure from John's past, lurks among the guests, her heart consumed by a bitter cocktail of jealousy and obsession. She watches them from afar, her gaze fixed on their every interaction, her resentment growing with each passing moment. As the day unfolds, Stephanie's obsession takes hold, twisting her thoughts and fueling her anger. She cannot bear to witness John's happiness with another woman, a woman she believes has stolen her rightful place by his side. Her mind races with dark fantasies, her resentment simmering beneath the surface of her carefully constructed facade. The celebration continues. Oblivious to the danger lurking in the shadows, Sherri and John, their hearts overflowing with love and hope, bask in the joy of their special day, unaware of the threat that looms over their happiness. As the night draws to a close, Sherri and John bid farewell to their guests, their hands intertwined, their eyes sparkling with anticipation for the future. They retreat to their new home, ready to embark on their journey together, unaware that a predator stalks them, driven by an obsession that knows no bounds. Stephanie Lazarus, her mind consumed by dark thoughts, follows the newlyweds, her determination hardening with each passing mile. She refuses to let Sherri have John. She refuses to let anyone have him. Her obsession has twisted into a dangerous possessiveness, a desperate need to control and reclaim what she believes is rightfully hers. As Sherri and John settle into their new home, unpacking their belongings and dreaming of the future, Stephanie lurks outside, her anger reaching a fever pitch. She watches them through the window, her eyes filled with a chilling mix of envy and rage. The stage is set for a tragedy. The joyous celebration of a wedding day will soon give way to the horror of a brutal crime. A love story, once filled with promise, will end in bloodshed and despair. What will Stephanie do next? Will her obsession consume her, driving her to commit an unspeakable act? Or will a glimmer of reason prevail, preventing a tragedy that will forever shatter the lives of those involved? The answer lies in the darkness that has taken root in Stephanie's heart, a darkness that threatens to consume everything in its path. The fate of Sherri and John hangs in the balance, their future uncertain, their happiness threatened by the shadow of obsession that looms over them. I know this was a heavy one, but these stories need to be told. If you're feeling it, give this video a thumbs up and share it to spread awareness. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and join our true crime community. For those of you who've been here a while, you know I appreciate you. Thanks for sticking around. The morning after the wedding. A day that should have dawned with joy and promise instead brings unimaginable horror. John Ruetten leaves for work, unaware of the tragedy that awaits him upon his return. Sherri, still asleep, is alone in the condo. But she is not alone for long. The details are chilling. Sherri was beaten and shot 3 times. The scene suggests a violent struggle, a desperate fight for survival. The discovery is made by the condo's housekeeper. She enters the apartment, expecting to find a tidy scene of newlywed bliss. Instead, she stumbles upon a nightmare. The police arrive, sirens blaring, lights flashing. The peaceful neighborhood is transformed into a crime scene. Neighbors gather, whispering in hushed tones, their faces etched with disbelief. The initial investigation is chaotic. Detectives try to piece together what happened, but the evidence is confusing and contradictory. Was it a burglary gone wrong? A crime of passion? Or something more sinister? John Ruetten returns home from work to the devastating news. His world is shattered. He is overcome with grief, but also with suspicion. Who could have done this to his beloved Sherri? The police focus their attention on John. He is the husband, after all, and statistically, husbands are often the perpetrators in such cases. But John insists he is innocent. The investigation continues, but the leads are few and far between. The police seem to be hitting a dead end. The killer, whoever they are, has vanished without a trace. But one piece of evidence stands out: a bite mark on Sherri's arm. It's a chilling reminder of the brutality of the attack, and it holds a crucial clue that will eventually lead to the killer. But for now, the bite mark remains a mystery. The killer is still at large, and justice for Sherri seems a distant dream. Will the truth ever be revealed? To make this section longer without adding new information, let's delve deeper into the emotions and details of this tragic morning. The morning after the wedding. A day that should have dawned with the soft glow of new beginnings, a day filled with the promise of love and happiness. Instead, the sun rises on a scene of unimaginable horror, a tragedy that shatters the tranquility of a quiet suburban neighborhood. John Ruetten, the newly husband, leaves for work, his heart still alight with the joy of the previous day's celebration. He bids farewell to his sleeping bride, unaware that it will be their last goodbye. Sherri, still slumbering peacefully, is alone in their condo, the silence broken only by the soft sounds of a new day dawning. But this tranquility is a deceptive facade, a mask hiding the darkness that is about to unfold. The details of the crime scene are chilling, a stark contrast to the joyous celebration that took place just hours earlier. Sherri's lifeless body lies amidst the disarray, a testament to the brutal struggle that ended her life. The evidence paints a grim picture. She was not only shot 3 times, but also savagely beaten, a clear indication of the killer's rage and intent. The discovery is made by the condo's housekeeper, a woman accustomed to the quiet routine of cleaning and tidying. She enters the apartment, expecting to find a scene of newlywed bliss, perhaps a few remnants of the previous day's festivities. Instead, she is met with a sight that will forever haunt her dreams, a scene of violence and despair that shatters the illusion of normalcy. The police arrive, their sirens piercing the morning calm, their flashing lights casting an eerie glow over the once peaceful neighborhood. The news spreads quickly, drawing neighbors and onlookers, their faces etched with shock and disbelief. The idyllic image of a quiet community is shattered, replaced by the grim reality of a brutal crime. The initial investigation is a whirlwind of activity, a chaotic search for answers amidst a sea of confusion and conflicting evidence. Detectives meticulously examine the crime scene, collecting fingerprints, analyzing bloodstains, and searching for any clue that might lead them to the killer. But the evidence is perplexing, the motive unclear. Was this a random act of violence, a burglary gone wrong? Or was it something more personal, a crime fueled by passion, jealousy, or revenge? John Ruetten returns home from work, his heart filled with anticipation for his first full day of married life. But instead of the loving embrace of his wife, he is met with the devastating news of her murder. His world crumbles around him, his joy turning to ashes, his future shattered in an instant. He is consumed by grief, but also by a gnawing suspicion. Who could have done this to his beloved Sherri? And why? The police, following standard procedure, focus their attention on John. He is the husband, after all, and statistically, husbands are often the perpetrators in such cases. But John vehemently denies any involvement, his heart breaking with each passing moment, as he realizes that he is a suspect in his own wife's murder. The investigation drags on, but the leads are scarce, the progress agonizingly slow. The police seem to be hitting dead end after dead end, their frustration growing with each passing day. The killer, whoever they are, has vanished without a trace, leaving behind a trail of grief, confusion, and unanswered questions. But amidst the chaos and despair, one piece of evidence stands out, a bite mark on Sherri's arm. It is a chilling reminder of the brutality of the attack, a mark of the killer's rage and a potential key to their identity. Forensic experts analyze the bite mark, hoping to extract DNA that might lead them to the perpetrator. But for now, the bite mark remains a silent witness, its secrets yet to be revealed. The killer is still at large, their identity shrouded in mystery, their motives unknown. Justice for Sherri seems like a distant dream, a glimmer of hope in a sea of darkness. Will the truth ever be revealed? Will Sherri's killer be brought to justice? Or will her murder remain an unsolved mystery, a haunting reminder of a life cut tragically short? The investigation into Sheri Rasmussen's murder begins. The police focus their attention on a burglary theory, believing that Sherri was the victim of a botched robbery. Detectives question John Ruetten, Sherri's husband, who is naturally a person of interest. They also interview Stephanie Lazarus, John's ex-girlfriend, who had a history of stalking him. The police collect forensic evidence, including fingerprints, DNA samples, and anything that might shed light on the killer's identity. But despite their efforts, they come up empty. The investigation stalls. The police have no suspects, no motive, and no clear direction. The killer remains at large, their identity hidden in the shadows. As the weeks turn into months, the case grows cold. The police focus their attention on other cases, leaving Sherri's murder unsolved. Her family is left in limbo, seeking justice for their beloved daughter. But the case is not forgotten. The police never stop their investigation, even though the trail has gone cold. There is always hope that one day, justice will be served. Will the killer ever be brought to justice? Will Sherri's family ever find peace? Only time will tell? Subscribe to this channel for updates on the case and other true crime stories. Together, we can help bring justice to victims and their families. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video to help spread awareness of Sherri's case and keep the pressure on the authorities to solve this cold case. To make this section longer without adding new information, let's delve deeper into the investigation process and the frustrations encountered. The investigation into Sheri Rasmussen's murder begins, a complex and challenging endeavor that will test the skills and resources of the Los Angeles Police Department. The initial focus centers on the theory of a botched burglary, a seemingly plausible explanation given the state of the crime scene. Detectives meticulously examine the condo, searching for clues, collecting evidence, and interviewing anyone who might have seen or heard something suspicious. They question neighbors, friends, and family members, hoping to piece together the events leading up to Sheri's death. John Ruetten, Sheri's husband, is naturally a person of interest. He is questioned extensively, his every word and action scrutinized. The detectives explore his relationship with Sheri, searching for any signs of trouble or motive for murder. Stephanie Lazarus, John's ex-girlfriend, also comes under scrutiny. Her history of stalking John raises red flags, and the detectives delve into her past, hoping to uncover any connection to the crime. The police meticulously gather forensic evidence, fingerprints, DNA samples, fibers, and anything that might shed light on the killer's identity. They analyze the evidence in state-of-the-art labs, hoping that science will provide the answers they desperately seek. But despite their best efforts, the investigation stalls. The evidence is inconclusive, the leads run dry, and the detectives find themselves facing a wall of frustration. The killer remains elusive, their identity hidden in the shadows, their motive a mystery. As the weeks turn into months, the case grows cold. The initial urgency fades, and the police are forced to shift their attention to other pressing matters. Sheri's murder becomes another unsolved case, another file gathering dust in the archives. Her family is left in a state of agonizing limbo, their grief compounded by the lack of answers and the absence of justice. They struggle to cope with their loss, their hearts heavy with the weight of unanswered questions and the knowledge that Sheri's killer remains free. But the case is not forgotten. The detectives, though frustrated and disheartened, never completely give up hope. They continue to revisit the evidence, to explore new leads, and to hold on to the belief that one day, justice will be served. Will the killer ever be brought to justice? Will Sheri's family ever find peace and closure? Only time will tell. But the pursuit of truth never truly ends, and the hope for justice remains a flickering flame in the darkness. Subscribe to this channel for updates on the case and other true crime stories. Together we can help keep the pressure on the authorities, raise awareness, and support the families of victims in their quest for justice. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video to help spread awareness of Sheri's case and ensure that her story is never forgotten. Every voice counts in the fight for justice, and together we can make a difference. Months turn into years. The initial flurry of activity surrounding Sheri's murder fades. The police investigation stalls, hitting one dead end after another. The burglary theory loses traction. The evidence doesn't quite fit. Valuables were left untouched. There's no sign of forced entry. The killers seem to know their way around the condo. Sheri's family grows, increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress. They believe the police are overlooking crucial evidence, dismissing their concerns. Nils Rasmussen, in particular, becomes convinced that the police are ignoring a key suspect, Stephanie Lazarus. He remembers Sheri's concerns about John's ex-girlfriend, her obsessive behavior, and the unsettling encounters. Nils repeatedly contacts the LAPD, urging them to consider Lazarus as a suspect. He even offers to pay for DNA testing, a new technology at the time. But his pleas fall on deaf ears. Years pass. The case remains unsolved. Sheri's family refuses to give up, but their hope dwindles with each passing year. The killer, it seems, has gotten away with murder. But behind the scenes, the wheels of justice are slowly turning. A new generation of detectives will soon take on the case, armed with advanced technology and a fresh perspective. Will they be able to uncover the truth that has eluded the police for so long? Will they finally bring justice for Sheri Rasmussen? The answer, as we'll soon discover, lies in a single piece of evidence, overlooked for decades, the bite mark on Sheri's arm. This seemingly insignificant detail will unlock the secrets of the past and reveal the shocking truth about Sheri's killer. Will the bite mark finally lead to justice for Sheri? To make this section longer without adding new information, let's delve deeper into the frustration and the renewed hope that emerges. Time marches relentlessly forward, the seasons changing, the years blending into one another. The initial frenzy surrounding Sheri Rasmussen's murder fades, the headlines disappear, and the public's attention shifts to other tragedies. But for Sheri's family, the pain remains fresh, the wound refusing to heal. The police investigation, once a whirlwind of activity, slows to a crawl. Detectives chase down every lead, analyze every piece of evidence, but the answers remain elusive. The burglary theory, initially promising, begins to crumble under the weight of inconsistencies. Valuables left untouched, no signs of forced entry, a crime scene that suggests a more personal motive. Sheri's family grows increasingly frustrated with the lack of progress. They feel that the police are not taking their concerns seriously, that crucial evidence is being overlooked, and that the investigation is losing momentum. They begin their own quest for answers, poring over case files, conducting their own interviews, and desperately seeking the truth that seems to elude the authorities. Nels Rasmussen, Sheri's father, becomes convinced that the police are ignoring a key suspect, Stephanie Lazarus. He remembers Sheri's anxieties about John's ex-girlfriend, her obsessive behavior, and the unsettling encounters that had left Sheri feeling threatened. He believes that Lazarus's connection to the case is being dismissed, perhaps due to her position as a police officer. Nels becomes a tireless advocate for his daughter, writing countless letters to the LAPD, pleading with them to investigate Lazarus more thoroughly. He even offers to pay for DNA testing, a relatively new and expensive technology at the time, hoping that it will provide the missing link and expose Lazarus as the killer. But his efforts are met with resistance. The police, perhaps blinded by their initial theory or reluctant to investigate one of their own, dismiss Nels's concerns. His letters go unanswered, his pleas for justice ignored. The frustration and despair of Sheri's family grow with each passing year. The case languishes, the trail growing colder with time. Sheri's family refuses to give up hope, but the years of waiting take their toll. The pain of their loss remains, a constant ache in their hearts, compounded by the lack of answers and the absence of justice. But just as hope begins to fade, a glimmer of light appears on the horizon. A new generation of detectives, armed with advanced technology and a fresh perspective, takes on the cold case. They revisit the evidence, re-examine the old leads, and listen to the pleas of a grieving father who has never given up on his quest for justice. Will these new detectives be able to uncover the truth that has eluded the police for so long? Will they finally bring justice for Sheri Rasmussen and vindicate her father's unwavering belief in her innocence? The answer, as we'll soon discover, lies in a single piece of evidence, overlooked for decades, the bite mark on Sheri's arm. This seemingly insignificant detail will unlock the secrets of the past and reveal the shocking truth about Sheri's killer. Will the bite mark finally lead to justice for Sheri? Or will the truth remain buried, another victim of time and a flawed investigation? Nels Rasmussen, Sheri's father, refuses to let his daughter's case fade into obscurity. He becomes a relentless advocate for justice, driven by a father's unwavering love and a burning desire to find the truth. Nels believes that the police are overlooking a crucial lead, Stephanie Lazarus. He remembers Sheri's concerns about John's ex-girlfriend, her obsessive behavior, and the unsettling encounters. Nels meticulously gathers information, piecing together a timeline of events and highlighting Lazarus's suspicious behavior. He becomes convinced that she is the key to solving Sheri's murder. He writes countless letters to the LAPD, urging them to take his concerns seriously. He even offers to pay for DNA testing, a relatively new technology at the time, hoping to link Lazarus to the crime scene. But the police remain unconvinced. They dismiss Nels's concerns, focusing on the burglary theory and other potential suspects. They see him as a grieving father, blinded by his emotions and grasping at straws. Nels's frustration grows. He feels like he's fighting a losing battle, his voice drowned out by the indifference of the authorities, but he refuses to give up. He continues to push for answers, contacting journalists, politicians, and anyone who will listen. He becomes a thorn in the side of the LAPD, a constant reminder of their failure to solve Sheri's murder. But his efforts seem to be in vain. The police remain unmoved, the case remains cold, and Sheri's killer remains free. But Nels's persistence will eventually pay off. Years later, a new generation of detectives will reopen the case. armed with new technology and a fresh perspective. They will listen to Nels's pleas, examine the evidence he has gathered, and finally take his suspicions about Stephanie Lazarus seriously. Will they be able to uncover the truth that has eluded the police for so long? Will they finally bring justice for Sheri Rasmussen and vindicate her father's unwavering belief in her innocence? Will Nels Rasmussen finally get the answers he has been seeking for so long? To make this section longer without adding new information, let's explore Nels's unwavering determination and the emotional toll of his quest for justice. Nels Rasmussen, Sheri's father, embodies the unwavering spirit of a parent who refuses to let their child's memory be tarnished by injustice. Driven by an unbreakable bond of love and a fierce determination to uncover the truth, he embarks on a relentless quest for justice, a quest that will consume him for years to come. Nels cannot shake the feeling that the police are overlooking a crucial piece of the puzzle, Stephanie Lazarus. He vividly recalls Sheri's concerns about John's ex-girlfriend, her obsessive behavior, and the unsettling encounters that had left Sheri feeling threatened. He believes that Lazarus's potential involvement in the crime is being ignored, perhaps due to her position as a police officer. Fueled by this conviction, Nels becomes a self-made detective, meticulously gathering information, piecing together a timeline of events, and highlighting every instance of Lazarus's suspicious behavior. He pores over case files, conducts his own interviews, and leaves no stone unturned in his pursuit of the truth. He writes countless letters to the LAPD, his words filled with a father's anguish and a citizen's demand for justice. He presents his findings, urges them to take his concerns seriously, and even offers to fund DNA testing, a cutting-edge technology at the time, hoping that it will provide the irrefutable evidence needed to link Lazarus to the crime. But his pleas fall on deaf ears. The police, perhaps entrenched in their initial theory or reluctant to investigate one of their own, dismiss Nels's concerns. His letters go unanswered, his calls unreturned, his frustration growing with each passing day. Despite the setbacks and the discouragement, Nels refuses to give up. He becomes a tireless advocate for his daughter, attending press conferences, speaking to reporters, and reaching out to anyone who will listen. He is a constant thorn in the side of the LAPD, a living reminder of their failure to solve Sheri's murder. Years turn into decades, and the case remains cold. The pain of Sheri's loss never fades, but Nels's hope for justice begins to dwindle. He feels like he is fighting a losing battle, his voice drowned out by the indifference of the authorities and the passage of time. But Nels's unwavering persistence, his refusal to let his daughter's memory be forgotten, will eventually pay off. Years later, a new generation of detectives, armed with advanced technology and a fresh perspective, will reopen the case. They will listen to Nels's pleas, examine the evidence he has meticulously gathered, and finally take his suspicions about Stephanie Lazarus seriously. Will their efforts bring the truth to light? Will they finally be able to solve the mystery that has haunted Nels for so long? Will justice prevail, vindicating his unwavering belief in his daughter's innocence and bringing closure to a family that has endured decades of pain and uncertainty? The answer, as we'll soon discover, lies in the hands of these dedicated detectives and the power of DNA technology to unlock the secrets of the past. To understand the depths of this tragedy, we need to delve into the life of the woman who would become inextricably linked to Sheri Rasmussen's fate, Stephanie Lazarus. Stephanie Lazarus was, in many ways, an unlikely killer. She was intelligent, athletic, and driven. She had achieved a successful career in a male-dominated field, becoming a respected detective with the Los Angeles Police Department. But beneath the surface of this accomplished woman lay a darker side, a hidden obsession that would ultimately lead her down a path of destruction. Stephanie's obsession began with John Ruetten. They met at UCLA, where they were both students. John, with his charm and athleticism, captured Stephanie's attention. She fell deeply in love, but their relationship was tumultuous, marked by John's on-again, off-again interest. Despite the challenges, Stephanie clung to the hope that they would one day be together. She saw a future with John, a future that she was determined to make a reality. But John's heart belonged to another. He met Sheri Rasmussen, and their connection was undeniable. They fell deeply in love, leaving Stephanie heartbroken and consumed by jealousy. Stephanie couldn't accept that John had chosen someone else. She refused to let him go. Her obsession grew, fueled by a sense of betrayal and a desperate need to possess him. She began to stalk John and Sherri, following them, watching their every move. She wanted to know everything about their relationship, every detail of their lives together. Stephanie's obsession became all-consuming. She couldn't think of anything else. She couldn't function without knowing what John was doing, who he was with, and how he felt. As John and Sherri's relationship progressed, Stephanie's desperation grew. She couldn't bear the thought of them getting married, of their happiness solidifying her rejection. Stephanie's obsession was spiraling out of control. She was losing her grip on reality, consumed by a dark and dangerous fantasy. She began to fantasize about eliminating Sherri, the obstacle standing in the way of her happiness. She imagined a life with John, a life where Sherri no longer existed. As John and Sherri's wedding day approached, Stephanie's obsession reached a fever pitch. She couldn't let them get married. She couldn't let Sherri win. Stephanie's mind was made up. She would do whatever it took to stop the wedding, even if it meant resorting to violence. On the day of the wedding, Stephanie put her plan into action. She attended the ceremony, watching from the shadows, her heart filled with rage and resentment. As the reception drew to a close, Stephanie followed the newlyweds to their new home, her mind consumed by dark thoughts. She was ready to act, ready to eliminate the obstacle standing in her way. As Sherri and John settled into their new home, unaware of the danger lurking outside, Stephanie waited in the shadows, her anger reaching a boiling point. The stage was set for a tragedy. A night of celebration would turn into a night of terror. A love story would end in bloodshed. Driven by her obsession, Stephanie Lazarus would commit an unspeakable act, a crime that would shatter lives and remain unsolved for decades. But the truth, as it always does, would eventually come to light. The story of Sheri Rasmussen's murder is a chilling reminder of the dark side of human obsession, the destructive power of jealousy, and the lengths to which someone will go to possess the object of their desire. But before we delve into the investigation and the shocking revelations that would follow, we need to understand the events that led to that fateful night. We need to explore the depths of Stephanie Lazarus's obsession and the twisted path that led her to commit murder. Join us as we unravel the tangled web of love, betrayal, and obsession that culminated in the tragic death of Sheri Rasmussen. The story of Sheri Rasmussen is a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most seemingly ordinary people can be capable of extraordinary acts of violence. It is a story that will shock you, intrigue you, and leave you questioning the nature of love, obsession, and the human capacity for evil. But before we delve into the darkest corners of this case, let's take a moment to remember Sheri Rasmussen, the vibrant young woman whose life was tragically cut short. Sherri was a loving daughter, a loyal friend, and a dedicated nurse. She had a bright future ahead of her, a future that was stolen from her in the most brutal way imaginable. Her murder left a void in the lives of those who knew her, a void that can never be filled. But her memory lives on, a reminder of the preciousness of life and the importance of justice. As we continue our journey into the heart of this case, let us keep Sherri's memory alive and never forget the tragic loss of her life. Now, let's return to the investigation and uncover the shocking truth about the killer who shattered Sherri's dreams and stole her future. The journey to justice is about to begin. Are you ready to follow the trail of clues and uncover the shocking truth about Sheri Rasmussen's murder? To lengthen this section without adding new information, we can expand on the descriptions and add emotional depth. To truly comprehend the depths of this tragedy, we must venture into the complex psyche of the woman who would become inextricably linked to Sheri Rasmussen's fate, Stephanie Lazarus. Stephanie Lazarus, on the surface, seemed an unlikely perpetrator. She was intelligent, driven, and had carved a successful career in the male-dominated world of law enforcement. She was a respected detective with the Los Angeles Police Department, a woman who had dedicated her life to upholding the law and protecting the innocent. But beneath this veneer of accomplishment and dedication lurked a darker side, a hidden obsession that would ultimately consume her and lead her down a path of destruction. This obsession took root during her time at UCLA, where she met John Ruetten, a charismatic and athletic young man who captured her attention and ignited a flame within her heart. She fell deeply in love, envisioning a future with him, a future filled with shared dreams and unwavering devotion. But their relationship was tumultuous, marked by John's fluctuating affections and Stephanie's growing insecurity. Despite the challenges, she clung to the hope that they would one day be together, that her love for him would ultimately prevail. However, fate had other plans. John met Sheri Rasmussen, and their connection was undeniable. They fell deeply in love, their bond a stark contrast to the turbulent relationship Stephanie had shared with John. Stephanie was left heartbroken, her dreams shattered, her obsession growing with each passing day. She couldn't accept that John had chosen someone else, that her love for him was unrequited. Her jealousy festered, transforming into a consuming need to possess him, to reclaim what she believed was rightfully hers. Stephanie's obsession spiraled out of control, driving her to stalk John and Sherri, to monitor their every move, to invade their privacy in a desperate attempt to maintain a connection with John. Her behavior became increasingly erratic, her thoughts consumed by a dark and dangerous fantasy. As John and Sherri's relationship blossomed, Stephanie's desperation grew. The thought of them getting married, of their happiness solidifying her rejection, was unbearable. Her obsession twisted into a dangerous desire for revenge, a need to eliminate the obstacle standing in the way of her twisted desires. Stephanie's mind became a battleground, her thoughts consumed by a dark fantasy where Sherri no longer existed, where she was the only woman in John's life. As their wedding day approached, her obsession reached a fever pitch, driving her to contemplate a desperate and unthinkable act. On that fateful day, Stephanie put her plan into motion, attending the wedding, watching from the shadows, her heart filled with rage and resentment. As the celebration drew to a close, she followed the newlyweds to their new home, her mind consumed by dark thoughts, her intentions sinister. The stage was set for a tragedy. A night of celebration turned into a night of terror, a love story ending in bloodshed. Driven by her obsession, Stephanie Lazarus would commit an unspeakable act, a crime that would shatter lives and remain unsolved for decades. But the truth, as it always does, would eventually come to light. The story of Sheri Rasmussen's murder is a chilling reminder of the dark side of human obsession, the destructive power of jealousy, and the lengths to which someone will go to possess the object of their desire. But before we delve into the investigation and the shocking revelations that would follow, we need to understand the events that led to that fateful night. We need to explore the depths of Stephanie Lazarus's obsession and the twisted path that led her to commit murder. Join us as we unravel the tangled web of love, betrayal, and obsession that culminated in the tragic death of Sheri Rasmussen. It is a story that will shock you, intrigue you, and leave you questioning the nature of love, obsession, and the human capacity for evil. But before we delve into the darkest corners of this case, let's take a moment to remember Sheri Rasmussen, the vibrant young woman whose life was tragically cut short. Her murder left a void in the lives of those who knew her, a void that can never be filled. But her memory lives on, a reminder of the preciousness of life and the importance of justice. As we continue our journey into the heart of this case, let us keep Sheri's memory alive and never forget the tragic loss of her life. Now, let's return to the investigation and uncover the shocking truth about the killer who shattered Sheri's dreams and stole her future. The journey to justice is about to begin. Are you ready to follow the trail of clues and uncover the shocking truth about Sheri Rasmussen's murder? Stephanie Lazarus, a woman of contradictions, a respected police officer sworn to uphold the law, yet harboring a dark secret, a dangerous obsession that would lead her to break that very law in the most horrific way. To understand her actions, we need to delve into her past, to explore the complexities of her personality, and the events that shaped her into the woman she became. Stephanie was a driven individual, determined to succeed in a male-dominated field. She excelled at the police academy, proving her physical and mental strength. She rose through the ranks, earning the respect of her colleagues and a reputation as a skilled detective. But beneath the surface of this accomplished woman lay a deep-seated insecurity, a vulnerability that stemmed from a troubled childhood and a series of failed relationships. Stephanie's parents were divorced when she was young, leaving her feeling abandoned and unloved. She craved stability and affection, but her relationships often ended in disappointment and heartbreak. She sought solace in her career, finding a sense of purpose and belonging in the police force. But her personal life remained tumultuous, marked by a string of failed romances and a growing sense of loneliness. Then she met John Ruetten. He was everything she had ever wanted in a man, charming, athletic, and ambitious. She fell deeply in love, believing that he was the one who would finally fulfill her longing for love and stability. But their relationship was far from perfect. John was non-committal, his affections wavering. Stephanie clung to him, desperate to keep him in her life, but her insecurity and possessiveness only pushed him further away. When John met Sheri Rasmussen, Stephanie's world crumbled. She couldn't bear the thought of losing him, of seeing him happy with another woman. Her jealousy and resentment grew, consuming her thoughts and actions. Stephanie's behavior became increasingly erratic. She began to stalk John and Sherri, following them, watching their every move. She wanted to know everything about their relationship, every detail of their lives together. Her obsession spiraled out of control. She couldn't function without knowing what John was doing, who he was with, and how he felt. She became consumed by a dark and dangerous fantasy, a fantasy in which Sherri no longer existed, and she was the only woman in John's life. As John and Sherri's wedding day approached, Stephanie's desperation grew. She couldn't let them get married. She couldn't let Sherri win. Her mind raced with dark thoughts, her anger simmering beneath the surface. Stephanie's obsession was about to reach a breaking point. She was losing her grip on reality, consumed by a twisted desire for revenge. The stage was set for a tragedy that would shatter lives and leave a lasting scar on the community. But before we delve into the horrific events of that fateful night, we need to understand the depths of Stephanie's obsession, the red flags that were missed, and the warning signs that were ignored. Was Stephanie Lazarus a victim of her own troubled past, or was she a cold-blooded killer, driven by a selfish desire for revenge? The answer, as we'll soon discover, is far more complex than it first appears. Join us as we continue to explore the dark side of human obsession and the tragic consequences that can unfold when love turns to hate. The journey to justice is about to take a dramatic turn, and the truth, as it always does, will eventually come to light. But for now, the question remains, what drove Stephanie Lazarus to commit such a heinous crime? Was it a momentary lapse in judgment, or was it the culmination of years of pent-up anger and resentment? The answer, as we'll soon discover, lies in the intricate web of relationships, betrayals, and obsessions that shaped Stephanie's life and ultimately led her down a path of destruction. But before we delve into the details of the crime and the investigation that followed, let's take a closer look at the woman behind the badge, the woman who would become known as the killer cop. Stephanie Lazarus was a complex individual, a woman of contradictions. She was capable of great kindness and compassion, yet also capable of unspeakable violence. She was a respected member of the community, yet she harbored a dark secret that would ultimately destroy her life and the lives of those around her. As we continue our journey into the heart of this case, we'll explore the many facets of Stephanie's personality, the events that shaped her life, and the motivations that led her to commit murder. The truth, as it often does, is far more complicated than it first appears, and the journey to justice is often long and arduous. But in the end, the truth will prevail, and justice will be served. Time marches on. Years blur into decades. The world changes, technology advances, but the memory of Sheri Rasmussen and the mystery of her unsolved murder linger. The case files gather dust, the leads grow cold, and the trail seems to vanish into the mists of time. But the pursuit of justice never truly sleeps. In the quiet corners of the LAPD, a dedicated team of cold case detectives works tirelessly, revisiting old cases, re-examining evidence, and seeking answers for those whose voices have been silenced. Detectives Jim Nuttall and Pete Barba, seasoned investigators with a keen eye for detail and a relentless determination, take on the challenge of Sherri's case. They pore over the old files, scrutinizing every detail, every witness statement, every piece of evidence. They see what others have missed. They question the old assumptions, the convenient narratives, the easy answers. They sense that there's more to this story, a hidden truth waiting to be unearthed. Their attention is drawn to a crucial piece of evidence, overlooked for years, the bite mark on Sherri's arm. With the advancements in DNA technology, this forgotten clue holds the potential to unlock the secrets of the past. The detectives submit the DNA sample for analysis, their hopes rising with each passing day. Could this be the breakthrough they've been waiting for? Could this finally lead them to Sherri's killer? The results come back, and the implications are staggering. The DNA profile doesn't match any known criminals in the database. But it does point to a woman whose identity sends shockwaves through the LAPD. Stephanie Lazarus. A respected detective, a colleague, a friend to many within the department. Could she be the killer they've been searching for all these years? The detectives are faced with a daunting task, investigating one of their own. They must tread carefully, maintain secrecy, and gather irrefutable evidence before confronting Lazarus. The stakes are high. If they're wrong, they risk destroying the career and reputation of a fellow officer. But if they're right, they will expose a killer hiding in plain sight, a wolf in sheep's clothing. The investigation takes a new turn, focusing on Lazarus's past, her relationship with John Ruetten, and her potential motive for murder. They delve into her personal life, her journal entries, and her interactions with colleagues, searching for any clues that might connect her to the crime. The evidence mounts. Lazarus's alibi falls apart. Her behavior becomes increasingly suspicious. The detectives close in, their determination growing with each new revelation. But Lazarus is a skilled detective herself. She knows the law, she knows how to cover her tracks, and she has the resources of the LAPD at her disposal. Can the detectives outsmart her and bring her to justice? The tension builds as the investigation reaches a critical point. The detectives are on the verge of a breakthrough, but they must tread carefully, ensuring that they have an airtight case before confronting Lazarus. Will they be able to gather enough evidence to arrest her? Or will Lazarus, with her knowledge of police procedure and her connections within the department, manage to evade justice once again? The fate of Sheri Rasmussen and the reputation of the LAPD hang in the balance. The detectives are determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. But the path to justice is fraught with obstacles, and the stakes have never been higher. As the investigation intensifies, the detectives face a moral dilemma. How do they pursue a colleague, a friend, without compromising their own integrity and the trust of the department? The lines between duty and loyalty become blurred. The detectives must navigate a treacherous path, balancing their commitment to justice with their respect for the badge. But in the end, their dedication to the truth prevails. They will stop at nothing to bring Sheri's killer to justice, even if it means exposing the dark secrets lurking within the LAPD itself. The cold case has been reopened, and the pursuit of justice has begun anew. But the journey is far from over. The detectives must overcome obstacles, face betrayals, and confront the darkness that lies hidden within their own ranks. Will they succeed in bringing Sheri's killer to justice? Or will the truth remain buried, another victim of a system designed to protect its own? The answer, as we'll soon discover, lies in the unwavering determination of two detectives, the resilience of a grieving family, and the power of DNA to unlock the secrets of the past. The cold case files lay dormant for years, gathering dust in the archives of the LAPD. Sheri Rasmussen's murder remained a haunting mystery, a puzzle with missing pieces, a wound that refused to heal. But the passage of time, while it may dull the edges of grief, does not erase the thirst for justice. And in the realm of forensic science, time can also be an ally, revealing secrets that were once hidden, unlocking truths that were once buried. The advent of DNA technology revolutionized criminal investigations, offering a powerful tool to identify perpetrators and exonerate the innocent. And in the case of Sheri Rasmussen, it would prove to be the key to unlocking a decades-old mystery. The cold case detectives, armed with this new technology, revisited the evidence, meticulously examining every detail, every clue, every possibility. Their attention was drawn to a seemingly insignificant piece of evidence, a bite mark on Sheri's arm. This bite mark, a chilling reminder of the brutality of the attack, held the potential to reveal the identity of the killer. The detectives carefully extracted a DNA sample from the bite mark, their hopes rising with each passing moment. The sample was sent to the lab, where forensic scientists worked tirelessly to analyze the genetic material, comparing it to databases of known criminals, searching for a match. The tension mounted as they waited for the results, the fate of Sheri Rasmussen, and the reputation of the LAPD hanging in the balance. Finally, the moment of truth arrived. The DNA profile from the bite mark matched a name in the system, a name that sent shockwaves through the department, a name that no one could have predicted. Stephanie Lazarus, a respected detective, a colleague, a friend to many within the LAPD. Could she be the killer they had been searching for all these years? The revelation was both stunning and unsettling. How could a police officer, sworn to uphold the law, be capable of such a heinous crime? Had she been hiding in plain sight all along, a wolf in sheep's clothing? The detectives were faced with a daunting task, investigating one of their own. They had to tread carefully, maintain secrecy, and gather irrefutable evidence before confronting Lazarus. The stakes were high. If they were wrong, they risked destroying the career and reputation of a fellow officer. But if they were right, they would expose a killer hiding in plain sight. A betrayal that would shake the foundations of the LAPD. The investigation took a new turn, focusing on Lazarus's past, her relationship with John Ruetten, and her potential motive for murder. They delved into her personal life, her journal entries, and her interactions with colleagues, searching for any clues that might connect her to the crime. The evidence mounted. Lazarus's alibi fell apart. Her behavior became increasingly suspicious. The detectives closed in, their determination growing with each new revelation. But Lazarus was a skilled detective herself. She knew the law, she knew how to cover her tracks, and she had the resources of the LAPD at her disposal. Could the detectives outsmart her and bring her to justice? The tension built as the investigation reached a critical point. The detectives were on the verge of a breakthrough, but they had to tread carefully, ensuring that they had an airtight case before confronting Lazarus. The fate of Sheri Rasmussen and the reputation of the LAPD hung in the balance. The detectives were determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. But the path to justice was fraught with obstacles, and the stakes had never been higher. As the investigation intensified, the detectives faced a moral dilemma. How do they pursue a colleague, a friend, without compromising their own integrity and the trust of the department? The lines between duty and loyalty became blurred. The detectives had to navigate a treacherous path, balancing their commitment to justice with their respect for the badge. But in the end, their dedication to the truth prevailed. They would stop at nothing to bring Sheri's killer to justice, even if it meant exposing the dark secrets lurking within the LAPD itself. The cold case had been reopened, and the pursuit of justice had begun anew. But the journey was far from over. The detectives had to overcome obstacles, face betrayals, and confront the darkness that lay hidden within their own ranks. Would they succeed in bringing Sheri's killer to justice? Or would the truth remain buried, another victim of a system designed to protect its own? The answer, as we'll soon discover, lies in the unwavering determination of two detectives, the resilience of a grieving family, and the power of DNA technology to unlock the secrets of the past. But for now, the question remains, how will the police apprehend a fellow officer, a detective with years of experience and a deep understanding of the law? The stage is set for a dramatic confrontation, a clash between justice and loyalty, a battle between truth and deception. The stakes have never been higher, and the outcome will forever change the lives of those involved. The DNA match had blown the case wide open. Stephanie Lazarus, the once respected detective, was now the prime suspect in the murder of Sheri Rasmussen. But how do you apprehend a fellow officer, a skilled investigator who knows the ins and outs of the law? The LAPD faced a delicate and dangerous task. They couldn't risk tipping off Lazarus, allowing her to destroy evidence or worse, flee. They needed a plan, a strategy that would ensure her capture while minimizing the risk to both officers and the public. The decision was made to lure Lazarus to Parker Center, the LAPD headquarters, under the guise of an unrelated investigation. A seemingly routine request, a simple interview about an art theft case, would be the bait to draw her in. On the morning of June 5, 2009, the trap was set. Detectives Greg Stearns and Dan Jaramillo, chosen for their lack of personal connection to Lazarus, waited in an interrogation room, their nerves on edge. Lazarus arrived unsuspecting, ready to assist her colleagues. She entered the room, her demeanor calm and professional, unaware that the tables were about to turn. The detectives engaged her in casual conversation, discussing the art theft case, building rapport, and lulling her into a false sense of security. But beneath the surface, the tension was palpable. Then, the moment of truth. The detectives shifted the conversation, mentioning Sheri Rasmussen's name, gauging Lazarus's reaction. Her composure faltered, a flicker of unease crossing her face. They pressed further, revealing that her name had come up in the reinvestigation of the cold case. Lazarus's defenses went up, her voice taking on a defensive tone. The detectives carefully laid out the evidence: the DNA match, the inconsistencies in her alibi, the growing suspicion that she was the killer. Lazarus denied the accusations, her voice rising in protest. But the evidence was overwhelming. The detectives pressed for a DNA sample, a request that Lazarus refused, her fear and desperation becoming evident. As she attempted to leave the interrogation room, the trap was sprung. Officers were waiting outside, ready to take her into custody. Lazarus was arrested, her world crashing down around her. Her initial reaction was a mixture of shock, disbelief, and anger. She protested her innocence, claiming she was being framed, but the evidence spoke for itself. The arrest of Stephanie Lazarus sent shockwaves through the LAPD. A respected detective, a colleague, a friend to many, was now a murder suspect. The betrayal was profound, the sense of disbelief palpable. The news spread quickly, making headlines across the country. The public was stunned, questioning how a police officer, sworn to uphold the law, could be capable of such a heinous crime. Lazarus's arrest marked a turning point in the case. After 39 years, justice for Sheri Rasmussen seemed within reach, but the journey was far from over. The trial lay ahead, a battle between truth and deception, a test of the justice system itself. Would Lazarus be held accountable for her actions, or would her position as a police officer, her knowledge of the law, and her connections within the department allow her to escape justice? The stakes were high, the emotions raw. The trial would be a crucible, testing the strength of the evidence, the resolve of the prosecution, and the resilience of Sheri's family. But one thing was certain: the arrest of Stephanie Lazarus had brought the long-dormant case back to life, reigniting the hope for justice and the pursuit of truth. The question now was whether the justice system would prevail, whether a killer hiding in plain sight would finally be held accountable for her actions. The arrest of Stephanie Lazarus was a dramatic turning point in the case, but it was only the beginning of a long and arduous journey towards justice. The trial lay ahead, a battleground where truth and deception would clash, where the fate of a killer and the legacy of a victim would be decided. Would the evidence be strong enough to convict Lazarus? Would her position as a police officer influence the outcome? And would Sheri Rasmussen's family finally find closure after decades of waiting? The answers to these questions would unfold in the courtroom, where the drama of the trial would captivate the nation and test the very foundations of the justice system. But for now, the arrest of Stephanie Lazarus marked a significant victory, a beacon of hope in a case that had long been shrouded in darkness. It was a testament to the persistence of Sheri's family, the dedication of the cold case detectives, and the power of DNA technology to unlock the secrets of the past. And it was a stark reminder that no one is above the law, not even those sworn to uphold it. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Reporters scribbled furiously, cameras flashed, and spectators leaned forward in their seats, eager to witness the unfolding drama. Stephanie Lazarus, the once respected detective, now stood accused of murder, her fate hanging in the balance. The prosecution, led by the determined Shannon Presby and Paul Nunes, laid out their case with meticulous precision. They painted a picture of a woman consumed by obsession, driven by jealousy, and capable of cold-blooded murder. They presented a mountain of evidence, weaving a narrative of betrayal and deceit. They highlighted Lazarus's history of stalking John Ruetten, her desperate attempts to win him back, and her growing resentment toward Sheri Rasmussen. They pointed to the DNA evidence, the irrefutable link between Lazarus and the bite mark on Sheri's arm. They argued that the burglary theory was a fabrication, a desperate attempt to cover up a crime of passion. They called witnesses who testified to Lazarus's erratic behavior, her emotional instability, and her veiled threats toward Sheri. They presented John Ruetten's testimony, his voice filled with grief and regret, as he recounted his relationship with Lazarus and the events leading up to Sheri's murder. The defense, led by the tenacious Mark Overland, fought back with vigor. They attacked the prosecution's case, highlighting inconsistencies and raising doubts about the reliability of the evidence. They argued that the DNA evidence was contaminated, the result of mishandling and improper storage. They questioned the credibility of the witnesses, suggesting that their memories were clouded by time and influenced by media coverage. They painted Lazarus as a dedicated police officer, a victim of circumstance, wrongly accused of a crime she didn't commit. They emphasized her exemplary record, her contributions to the LAPD, and her unwavering dedication to justice. The courtroom became a battleground of words, a clash between two opposing narratives, a struggle for the hearts and minds of the jury. The tension was palpable, the stakes incredibly high. The prosecution and defense sparred, each side presenting their case with passion and conviction. The jury listened intently, weighing the evidence, scrutinizing the witnesses, and trying to discern the truth. The trial stretched on for weeks, the drama unfolding day by day. The media frenzy intensified, the public captivated by the story of a killer cop, a betrayed bride, and a justice system put to the test. The prosecution hammered home their key points: the DNA match, the motive, the inconsistencies in Lazarus's alibi. They argued that Lazarus, driven by her obsession with John Ruetten, had brutally murdered Sheri Rasmussen to eliminate her rival. The defense countered with their own arguments, highlighting the lack of direct evidence, the possibility of contamination, and the alternative theories that the police had failed to explore. They portrayed Lazarus as a scapegoat, a victim of a flawed investigation and a biased prosecution. The courtroom became a crucible where the truth was forged in the fires of debate and cross-examination. The jury, the ultimate arbiters of justice, faced a difficult decision, weighing the evidence and the arguments, trying to discern the truth from the lies. As the trial neared its end, the tension reached a fever pitch. The closing arguments were delivered with passion and conviction, each side making their final plea for justice. The prosecution painted a vivid picture of Lazarus's guilt, highlighting her motive, her opportunity, and the overwhelming evidence against her. They urged the jury to hold her accountable for her actions, to deliver justice for Sheri Rasmussen and her grieving family. The defense countered with a plea for reasonable doubt, emphasizing the lack of direct evidence and the possibility of alternative suspects. They urged the jury to consider Lazarus's character, her dedication to the law, and the devastating consequences of a wrongful conviction. The jury retired to deliberate, their task weighing heavily on their shoulders. They had to sift through the evidence, weigh the arguments, and reach a verdict that would determine the fate of Stephanie Lazarus and bring closure to a decades-old case. The tension was palpable as the jury returned to the courtroom, their faces etched with the gravity of their decision. The verdict was read, the words echoing through the silent courtroom, shattering the tense anticipation. Guilty. Stephanie Lazarus, the once respected detective, was convicted of first-degree murder. The justice system had prevailed, albeit after a long and arduous journey. But the story didn't end there. The sentencing loomed, a final chapter in a tragic saga. What punishment would Lazarus face for her crime? Would she spend the rest of her life behind bars, or would she receive a lesser sentence, a chance at redemption? The sentencing hearing was a somber affair filled with emotion and raw grief. Sheri's family delivered victim impact statements, their voices trembling with pain and anger as they recounted the devastating impact of her loss. Lazarus, her face pale and drawn, expressed remorse for her actions, but her words rang hollow to those who had suffered because of her crime. The judge, faced with a difficult decision, weighed the severity of the crime against Lazarus's past contributions to society. The sentence was handed down, 27 years to life in prison. Lazarus's fate was sealed, her life forever altered by the consequences of her actions. Justice had been served, but the scars of the past remained, a reminder of the devastating power of obsession and the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of tragedy. The air in the courtroom crackled with tension. Weeks of testimony, mountains of evidence, and countless hours of deliberation had led to this moment. The jury filed in, their faces etched with the weight of their decision. Stephanie Lazarus, the once confident detective, now stood before them, her fate hanging in the balance. The silence was deafening as the judge asked the foreperson to read the verdict. Each word echoed through the courtroom, piercing the thick air of anticipation. On the charge of first-degree murder, we the jury find the defendant, Stephanie Lazarus, guilty. The words hung in the air, heavy with finality. A collective gasp swept through the courtroom, a mix of shock, relief, and disbelief. Sheri Rasmussen's family wept openly, their years of anguish and frustration finally giving way to a sense of justice. Lazarus, her face pale and drawn, stood motionless, her eyes betraying a flicker of disbelief and despair. The reality of the verdict crashed down upon her, shattering the facade of composure she had maintained throughout the trial. The weight of her actions, the consequences of her obsession, the life she had taken, all came crashing down upon her in that moment. The badge she had worn with pride, the uniform she had donned with honor, now seemed like a distant memory, a cruel mockery of the justice she had sworn to uphold. The sentencing hearing followed, a somber affair filled with raw emotion. Sheri's family and friends delivered victim impact statements, their voices trembling with grief and anger as they recounted the devastating impact of her loss. They spoke of Sheri's vibrant spirit, her infectious laughter, her dedication to her patients, and her dreams for the future. They spoke of the void her absence had left in their lives, the pain that would never fully heal. They spoke of the years of anguish and frustration, the tireless pursuit of justice, and the unwavering belief that Sheri's killer would one day be held accountable. And they spoke of the bittersweet relief of the verdict, a sense of closure mixed with the enduring pain of their loss. Lazarus, her voice barely a whisper, expressed remorse for her actions, but her words rang hollow to those who had suffered because of her crime. She spoke of her own struggles, her troubled past, and the obsessive love that had driven her to commit such a horrific act. But her apologies could not undo the damage she had caused, nor could they erase the pain she had inflicted. The judge, faced with a difficult decision, weighed the severity of the crime against Lazarus's past contributions to society. He acknowledged her years of service as a police officer, her dedication to protecting and serving the community. But he also recognized the gravity of her crime, the senseless taking of a life, the betrayal of the trust placed in her as a law enforcement officer. The sentence was handed down, 27 years to life in prison. Lazarus's fate was sealed, her life forever altered by the consequences of her actions. Justice had been served, but the scars of the past remained, a reminder of the devastating power of obsession and the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of tragedy. Lazarus's emotional response was a mix of defiance and despair. She maintained her innocence, claiming she was a victim of a flawed investigation and a biased prosecution, but her protests were drowned out by the cries of relief and satisfaction from Sheri's family and friends. As she was led away in handcuffs, her face etched with a mixture of anger and regret, the courtroom erupted in applause. The long journey for justice had finally come to an end. But the echoes of the tragedy would continue to reverberate through the lives of those touched by Sheri Rasmussen's murder. The verdict and sentencing of Stephanie Lazarus marked a significant moment in the annals of true crime. It was a case that captivated the nation, a story of love, betrayal, and obsession that culminated in a shocking act of violence. It was a reminder that even those sworn to uphold the law are not immune to the dark forces that can consume the human heart. And it was a testament to the unwavering pursuit of justice, the power of DNA technology, and the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable loss. But the story doesn't end there. The aftermath of the trial, the appeals, and the lingering questions about the LAPD's handling of the case would continue to unfold, casting a long shadow over the pursuit of justice. And the impact of Sheri Rasmussen's murder would continue to reverberate through the lives of her family and friends, a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of love and memory. The verdict and sentencing of Stephanie Lazarus brought a sense of closure to a decades-old case. But the story of Sheri Rasmussen's murder continues to resonate, a chilling reminder of the dark side of human nature and the enduring quest for justice. The verdict was in, the sentence delivered, and Stephanie Lazarus, the killer cop, was finally behind bars. But the story of Sheri Rasmussen's murder was far from over. Lingering questions remained, casting a shadow over the LAPD and raising troubling concerns about the integrity of the initial investigation. How could a police officer commit such a heinous crime and evade justice for over 2 decades? Was it simply a case of a flawed investigation, or was there something more sinister at play? As the dust settled after the trial, a closer examination of the evidence revealed troubling discrepancies and inconsistencies. Crucial evidence had gone missing, witness statements were incomplete, and there were allegations of a deliberate cover-up. The Rasmussen family, still reeling from their loss and the long fight for justice, began to question the LAPD's handling of the case. They suspected that Lazarus's position as a police officer had shielded her from scrutiny, allowing her to escape justice for years. They filed a civil lawsuit against the LAPD, alleging a cover-up and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They sought answers, accountability, and a sense of closure that the criminal trial had failed to provide. The lawsuit brought to light disturbing details about the initial investigation. Evidence that could have implicated Lazarus early on had mysteriously disappeared. Witness statements that highlighted her obsessive behavior and potential motive were overlooked or dismissed. Experts in police procedure and forensic science weighed in, expressing concerns about the LAPD's handling of the case. They questioned the thoroughness of the initial investigation, the lack of follow-up on key leads, and the apparent disregard for evidence that pointed to Lazarus as a suspect. The lawsuit also revealed a culture of secrecy and protection within the LAPD, a reluctance to investigate one of their own, even in the face of mounting evidence. It raised questions about the department's commitment to transparency and accountability, and its willingness to confront the dark side of its own ranks. The civil lawsuit, while ultimately unsuccessful due to the statute of limitations, shed light on the ethical considerations and unanswered questions surrounding the initial investigation. It exposed a systemic failure to pursue justice for Sheri Rasmussen, a failure that allowed her killer to remain free for far too long. The case of Stephanie Lazarus and the murder of Sheri Rasmussen became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the potential for corruption and cover-up within law enforcement agencies. It highlighted the importance of independent oversight, transparency, and accountability in ensuring that justice is served, regardless of the perpetrator's position or power. But the unanswered questions lingered, casting a long shadow over the LAPD and raising doubts about its ability to police itself. How could such a blatant miscarriage of justice occur? Was it a case of incompetence, negligence, or something more deliberate? The Rasmussen family's pursuit of answers exposed a systemic failure within the LAPD, a failure that allowed a killer to walk free for decades. It raised questions about the department's culture, its priorities, and its commitment to serving and protecting the community. The case of Stephanie Lazarus and the murder of Sheri Rasmussen became a symbol of the need for reform within law enforcement, a call for greater transparency, accountability, and a renewed commitment to justice for all. But even with Lazarus behind bars, the unanswered questions continued to haunt those who sought justice for Sheri. Was there a deliberate cover-up? Were there others within the LAPD who knew of Lazarus's involvement but chose to remain silent? These questions lingered, casting a pall over the LAPD and eroding public trust in the very institution tasked with upholding the law. The case of Stephanie Lazarus became a stain on the department's reputation, a reminder of the potential for corruption and abuse of power within its ranks. The unanswered questions also served as a catalyst for change, prompting calls for greater oversight and accountability within the LAPD. The case highlighted the need for independent investigations, whistleblower protections, and a culture of transparency that prioritizes justice over protecting its own. But even with these reforms, the shadow of doubt remained. The case of Stephanie Lazarus exposed a systemic failure within the LAPD, a failure that allowed a killer to walk free for decades and raised questions about the department's ability to police itself. The unanswered questions surrounding the initial investigation and the potential cover-up continued to fuel speculation and distrust, leaving a lingering sense of injustice and a reminder of the fragility of trust in those sworn to protect and serve. But amidst the unanswered questions and the lingering doubts, one thing remained clear: the fight for justice for Sheri Rasmussen had exposed the dark underbelly of the LAPD, revealing a need for reform and a renewed commitment to transparency and accountability. The case of Stephanie Lazarus served as a wake-up call, a reminder that even those entrusted with upholding the law are not above suspicion, and that the pursuit of justice requires constant vigilance and a willingness to confront the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. The courtroom battles have subsided, the gavel has fallen, and justice, in its imperfect form, has been served. But the echoes of Sheri Rasmussen's life, her vibrant spirit, and her tragic fate linger, a poignant reminder of the enduring power of love and memory. Let us now shift our focus from the darkness of the crime and the intricacies of the investigation to the light that was Sheri Rasmussen. Let us remember her not as a victim but as a woman who lived a life filled with passion, purpose, and an unwavering zest for life. Sheri was a beacon of light, a shining star whose brilliance was extinguished far too soon. She was a loving daughter, a devoted friend, and a dedicated nurse who touched the lives of countless patients with her compassion and care. She was a woman of many talents and passions, a gifted musician, an avid skier, a lover of travel and adventure. She embraced life with open arms, her laughter infectious, her spirit indomitable. Sheri's dreams were as vast as her heart. She dreamed of a loving family, a fulfilling career, and a life filled with purpose and meaning. She dreamed of making a difference in the world, leaving behind a legacy of kindness and compassion. But her dreams were tragically cut short, stolen from her in a senseless act of violence. The world lost a bright light, a shining star whose potential was never fully realized. Yet, Sheri's legacy lives on, woven into the fabric of the lives she touched. Her memory is a beacon guiding those who loved her through the darkness of grief and inspiring them to live their lives to the fullest. Her family and friends cherish the memories of her laughter, her kindness, and her unwavering spirit. They remember her as a force of nature, a woman who lived life on her own terms, leaving an indelible mark on those who knew her. Sheri's legacy extends beyond her personal relationships. Her dedication to her patients, her commitment to excellence, and her passion for nursing inspired countless others to pursue careers in healthcare, carrying on her legacy of compassion and care. Her story, though marked by tragedy, serves as a reminder of the preciousness of life and the importance of cherishing every moment. It reminds us to live our lives with purpose, to pursue our dreams with passion, and to leave behind a legacy of love and kindness. Sheri Rasmussen may be gone, but her spirit lives on, a beacon of light that continues to shine brightly in the hearts of those who loved her. Her memory is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, the resilience of love, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. As we reflect on Sheri's life and legacy, we are reminded that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, the human spirit can endure. We are reminded that love transcends death, that memories remain etched in our hearts, and that the pursuit of justice can bring a sense of closure, even if it cannot erase the pain of loss. Sheri Rasmussen's story is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, love and memory can shine through. Her legacy lives on, inspiring us to live our lives to the fullest, to cherish every moment, and to never give up on the pursuit of justice. But as we remember Sheri and celebrate her life, we are also left with a lingering question. How can we prevent such tragedies from happening again? How can we ensure that other families don't have to endure the pain and suffering that the Rasmussens have experienced? The answer, perhaps, lies in a collective commitment to justice, a refusal to let such crimes go unpunished, and a dedication to creating a world where everyone feels safe and valued. It lies in honoring the memory of those we have lost by working towards a future where such tragedies are a distant memory. Sheri Rasmussen's legacy is a call to action, a reminder that we all have a role to play in creating a more just and compassionate world. It is a legacy that will continue to inspire and motivate us long after the cameras have stopped rolling and the courtroom has fallen silent. The story of Sheri Rasmussen is a tapestry woven with threads of love, betrayal, obsession, and ultimately, justice delayed but not denied. It's a tale that has captivated and horrified, a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary lives. We've journeyed through the idyllic beginnings of a young woman's life, witnessed the blossoming of love and the promise of a future filled with happiness. We've also delved into the depths of obsession, the corrosive power of jealousy, and the devastating consequences of unchecked rage. We've followed the twists and turns of a cold case investigation, the tireless pursuit of justice by a grieving family, and the shocking revelation of a killer hiding in plain sight. We've seen the wheels of justice turn slowly, grinding towards a resolution that seemed forever out of reach. And finally, we witnessed the triumph of truth, the conviction of Stephanie Lazarus, the killer cop who betrayed her badge and shattered a young woman's dreams. Justice, though delayed, was finally served, bringing a sense of closure to a decades-long saga. But the story of Sheri Rasmussen is more than just a true crime tale. It's a reflection on the human condition, the complexities of love and loss, and the enduring power of memory. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can endure, and the pursuit of justice can prevail. Sherri's legacy lives on, not just in the hearts of those who loved her, but in the lessons we can learn from her tragic fate. Her story reminds us to cherish every moment, to pursue our dreams with passion, and to never give up on the fight for what is right. It also serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the devastating consequences of obsession and the importance of seeking help when consumed by dark emotions. It highlights the need for vigilance, for recognizing the red flags of unhealthy relationships, and for intervening before it's too late. The case of Stephanie Lazarus and the murder of Sheri Rasmussen also exposed the fallibility of the justice system, the potential for bias and corruption, and the importance of holding those in power accountable. It underscored the need for transparency, for independent oversight, and for a relentless pursuit of truth, regardless of where it leads. But above all, Sherri's story is a testament to the enduring power of love and memory. Even in death, her spirit shines brightly, illuminating the lives of those she touched, and inspiring us to live our lives with purpose and compassion. As we conclude this journey into the heart of a true crime tragedy, let us remember Sheri Rasmussen not as a victim, but as a woman who lived a life filled with love, laughter, and an unwavering zest for life. Let us honor her memory by cherishing our own lives, pursuing our dreams with passion, and fighting for a world where justice prevails. And let us never forget the importance of speaking out against injustice, of holding those in power accountable, and of seeking truth, no matter how difficult the path may be. For in the pursuit of justice, we honor the memory of those we have lost and ensure that their stories continue to inspire and guide us towards a better future. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you have been moved by Sherri's story, please like, comment, and share this video to help spread awareness and keep her memory alive. Subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories, explorations of the human condition, and reminders of the importance of justice and accountability. Together, we can make a difference, one story at a time. And as we bid farewell to this chapter, let us carry with us the lessons we have learned, the memories we have shared, and the unwavering belief that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can prevail, and justice, though it may be delayed, will ultimately triumph.